Oh, right. Well, I knew I was going to have to review this movie at some point in time because our real life world has become absolutely fucking stupid and actually mirrors a lot of the things that happen in this movie. The movie, of course, is the 2006 movie Idiocracy, starring Luke Wilson and the one and only Terry Crews of note. And although at many points in time this movie is trying to be funny and kind of an absurd look at the future, it's actually pretty fucking disturbing and makes me feel all kinds of uncomfortableness. For example, the Costco scene is just utterly creepy as hell to envision a future where Costco has become an absolute like city in itself. It's a very weird projection of the future and just is very off-putting in its presentation how people are like living homeless in Costco with stores and shops and it's become its own like megalopolis. And while some parts of the film really fall down in terms of, some of the strangeness and just utter stupidity of it all, it paints a weird picture of the future where it's admittedly very far in the future, 2500, but it really kind of speaks to what we're going on with today. For example, everybody's wearing like advertising shirts and there's advertising everywhere and people are obsessed with sex and I think it's a commentary on what our world is kind of becoming, but not to an extreme level. It's an interesting look. I wouldn't call it the greatest movie ever, because it's really a movie you only ever want to watch once. But I mean, it's interesting. I'll give it that. It's certainly an interesting movie, and has a few chuckles along the way. The shortcomings of the movie are just how it makes you feel deeply uncomfortable. I mean, the future is just a weird, whacked out place that you would never want to live or be a part of. And is that really the world that we're creating, so to speak? I mean, 2500 is a fucking stretch to imagine that we would even be anywhere remotely close to like being like this back then. But it paints a very interesting picture of how like selective breeding has made humans stupider in general. It's kind of outright obnoxious, there's things like people slapping each other in the side of the heads and spraying each other obnoxiously in the face. And I would go so far as to say that people not only became more stupid in the future, but they also became more obnoxious and just utterly disgusting and gross as human beings. And in today's world, I mean, we're inundated with all these advertisings and sex sells, and it's kind of like the extreme version of today's world. And I mean, we do things like that Hulk Hogan and Camilla Harris doing her like rap tours. I mean, we really are headed onto a path of just utter absurdity and unprofessionalism and unintelligence on just where we're headed as a species. Some of the acting choices are pretty great. I mean, Luke Wilson's is fine and everything, but the real breakout is Terry Crews as the president. He's just fucking awesome, and he's a very high point of the movie where the president has just become this like WWE star who's just like shooting guns and being all intensely American. It really begs the question of what does the rest of the world look like if this is what America is like. And God, some of the dialogue is just absolutely goofy. Like, listen to this quick clip here of just how absurd it gets.
This goes in your mouth. This one goes in your butt. Hang on a second. This one goes in your mouth.
And we're stuck with the dumbest people in history.
If you have one bucket that holds 2 gallons and another bucket that holds 5 gallons, how many buckets do you have?
2?
It just goes on and on and on. I mean, in short, like, Terry Crews is amazing. Some of the aspects and relations to the modern day world and of America are very relevant. But I mean, in general, the set design and the world design is pretty crazily good. I mean, they have really put some effort into this. I found myself trying to find like, is this CGI or did they actually make all this? Like, how much money did they invest into this project? Because it must have fucking cost a fortune to build all this. I mean, they completely changed the world upside down. I mean, they spent $2.4 million on this thing and it made only 500,000 back, so it was an unmitigated flop. But I mean, clearly the $2.4 million they put into this was on world building. I mean, they created this wacky world with all the logos and all this made up shit that just it looks really, really, really good and conceiving. And that kind of brings it back to my point is this is kind of a disturbing movie. Like I don't like the look of this future at all. I wouldn't enjoy being the world being this stupid. And maybe that's a commentary on the fact that we got to change it. We got to make intellectual decisions to make our world not become this. And although I don't believe that humans would be evolved to be stupider, we certainly are verging on the realm of absurd in our day-to-day world, and especially world politics. So I don't know. Is Idiocracy a good movie? It's a hard 6 out of 10 for me. It's not an enjoyable watch. It has some laughs. It's very interesting the way they built this world, but it's just ultimately not a movie that you really want to watch, you know? It shows some things of and sides of human nature that you didn't want to really explore at in the first place. But I mean, on the flip side, if anything, it's an interesting commentary on how stupid some of our things have become. And you know, on the other side too, it's pretty amazing what they did with the set designs of this because yeah, it took me to a world I didn't want to be a part of. And I would kind of consider this on the in the realm of kind of failures. You know, they went on from Office Space. It was made to the same people of Office Space and King of the Hill and Beavis and Butthead, and it kind of just folds and flops to being this weird, odd curiosity of a movie that you kind of feel a little icky on the inside after you watch it, to be honest. So yeah, Idiocracy, poignant movie for today's fucked up world, but I mean, at the same time, it's not a very great movie. If it wasn't for the unbelievable set design that they created, there really wouldn't be anything here worth watching. And Luke Wilson he's just average. He's just a basic average dude, so, you know, take it for what you want, but I mean, it's okay for a watch, honestly.